When I decided to make a summer weight quilt for my bed, I knew I was going to use Liberty fabric for its softness and for its lightness. I have a small collection of Liberty fabric from when I returned to quilting last summer. I bought some of it before I even knew how special it was. And I decided to use a 9-patch layout for the quilt, partly because it was a great way to break up the Liberty fabric, but also because it is a beginner-friendly block. That clip of me holding up the 9 patches, that is from a previous video where I went through and chose the Liberty fabric that I was going to use on the quilt. I chose 20 different fabrics. And now it's time to make the blocks. The first thing to do is to make 2.5-inch strips of fabric. For each of the 20 Liberty fabrics that I chose, I need 90 inches of strips. And with the size of this fabric, that's about 4 strips. I'm trying to remember how many blocks that is. I think it's 8. Aren't they just so pretty? Wow. Wow. And there they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Each set of 4 Liberty strips gets paired with strips of neutral fabric. And because of the size of the fabric, we only need 3 of those strips. They're just longer. The pieces that I'm cutting off will get paired up with the 4th Liberty fabric strip. I was getting ready for a long sewing session. This was not a good start. Oh, for God's sakes. This machine. Fudge. That's what I have to say, fudge. I'm not completely convinced that if I had a more expensive machine, it wouldn't just be a more expensive problem. This is Liberty fabric, and then this is a fabric that I chose because it has that same sort of sateen, high-end sateen quality. But when I'm sewing them together, it's a couple of very light fabrics. Light, slippery, and so, maybe a better machine. I hate to say that because I'm definitely not going to get one, but maybe a better machine would deal with that silky fabric better. I put a square piece of fabric underneath my needle to protect my sewing project from that kind of a bobbin problem. The little scrap of fabric is called a thread bunny, and I have a whole bunch of them from previous projects. They end up getting very thready. This is 2.5 inches, and I want this to be 2.5 inches, but the funny thing is about that is I can't, let's say I put it here, I can't cut it there. So let me turn this here. I put in a new blade, and it is amazing. I mean, to me, it's silent because I didn't have to press down. Okay, I was proving a point and didn't press down. And I need to press a little bit. Okay, here are those. Then so that's one square. And here is the second square. There will be 4 of these and 4 of these. And I'm going to do that for each of 20 colors. This quilt is going to be fairly large. The blocks are each 6 inches square, and there's going to be 11 across the top and 14 down. Oops, that was a mistake. Okay, you can already see what the problem is going to be when I assemble this quilt. I did do a mock-up of the quilt in my quilt planning app, but honestly, you just have to lay it out and figure it out in situ. In situ happens to be on my floor. Why don't we go do that right now? I'm going to speed through this layout process, but what I'm doing is I'm trying to keep like fabrics from touching each other. There's a lot of dark blue, so it doesn't always look like that's what I'm doing. And I'm making sure the pattern stays correct. 9 patches with colored corners have to be next to 9 patches with white corners. Okay. I mean, that is a big job. Quick reminder to like if you do and subscribe if you'd like. I have noticed when I have sewn together a lot of blocks in strips, either in the columns or the rows, that a small misalignment early on in that sewing can set off the whole rest of the row. And then it's actually sort of hard to fix. In the shorter runs, I have more control. So I got this idea of how I was going to construct this quilt. This is my mock layout of the quilt. And I'm going to sew together groups of 4 blocks. And then I'm going to take those 4 up blocks and sew them together into quads. And I'm going to continue that method until all of the blocks have been put together. It feels like this will give me more opportunities for fixing misalignments and for making my points correct. At least that's my theory. So I will pick up each set of 4 and clip them together with a sticky label. And there they are, ready to be sewn together. There are 2 reasons why I didn't film any of the construction, the sewing together in the quadrants. One is I wasn't actually convinced that it was going to work, and I didn't really feel like chronicling an unsuccessful idea. And second, it turned out that I had to take photos of every single set of 4 so that I could make sure that I put them back together correctly. And that was already a big coordination effort, and I just decided that that was enough. Here they are in progress, and this is the finished quilt on the floor. Tula Pink says that the effort of putting together a quilt top should match the effort of the finishing job that you do on it. And there was a lot of effort that went into this quilt top. So I am going to be putting some special effort into the hand quilting. I'm hand quilting a little narrower than I usually do, and I think it's going to be nice. But I'm hoping I can finish it by the summer solstice, which comes up in 3 weeks, so that I can enjoy it this summer. Fingers crossed. Thank you for being here. See you next time. Bye. 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. All right. This is a big quilt.